My name is Jeremy Jojola. I am an investigative reporter at 9 News, and I'm here to talk about mental health. I had a really good childhood, with my father growing up. I moved around quite a bit because he was a federal agent. He was an investigator, and that's where I think I got a lot of my investigative, intuition from. He was my compass. He was always there in my life, and I had a really good childhood because of him. He was my guiding star for my whole life. The day he told me he had cancer, he had this stage 4 brain cancer. It was a shock. When he passed, it was not a sudden shift because he was sick for such a long time. He was sick for nearly 2 years. When you're a child, you don't think your parents are ever going to pass away. You don't think they're ever going to go away. But when something like this happens, it's a shock. And it's something that I had no idea how to deal with. My dad was an investigator, and every day after work, I'd call him up and tell him about my investigative work that I was doing because he knew he could relate and I could relate to him, and I don't have that anymore. So when I leave the station and I drive, I don't have that. And for me, it's been tough to process those car rides because he's not there on the phone. There was a time where it was hard for me to sleep, and I, drank a little bit too much, to suppress my feelings. And I realized I wasn't feeling healthy. I wasn't in a good headspace. It was hard for me to focus at work. And so finally I said, you know what, I'm gonna try therapy again. And my first meeting was fantastic. It was on the computer, and I let it all out about the things I was dealing with the loss of my father, my fears of him not being around, of me feeling incompetent because he wasn't there. And that night after therapy, I slept for the first time, like in a long time. It was just refreshing to go to bed and sleep. And I woke up the next morning thinking, God, I should have done this a long time ago. We've had this tendency for years in our society to put away our emotions, especially as men, right? As men, we've been raised to believe that we've had to be tough and that we can't cry, and we have to just tough it out because we're men, because it was such a stigma back then, growing up. I've learned that therapy is a way for me to verbalize my emotions, and it's almost like you're acknowledging what you're feeling. If you're in that place where you're afraid to open up, it's going to come back later, and it's going to come back and it's going to hit you hard. And that can manifest through drinking or through other addictive behaviors. And if you don't let it come to you and, flow through you, and you don't accept it, it's gonna be harder on you in the long run. Going to therapy for me has made me such a much more stronger person because I know I can handle the grief with help, right? I know I can verbalize it and get it out there and accept it, and use it as a tool to, think about my father and remember him, And for me, I'm much more happier now than I was, a few months ago, because of going to therapy, because I'm able to verbalize it and I'm able to talk to someone about it. For our whole lives, we're gonna be on a mental health journey. And the more we talk about mental health, the more we're able to, accept the fact that we're human beings and we need to address it.